Hello and welcome to episode 2 of Get Decked, the video series where I make budget casual decks for Magic the Gathering that you can use during a casual games night or to introduce friends or family to the game. Let's dive into it and look at Sarkhan Special, which is a mono red dragon deck. I feel like mono red dragons is probably a deck we've all tried to build at some point in our lives, so this is my take on it, so I hope you enjoy it. Let's dive into it. Before we do that though, let's have a look at the rules of Get Decked. These are like the guidelines I've set myself. So we set ourselves a budget of $30 US. The decks are 60 cards intended for 2-player games. We have no format restrictions, and we're aiming for a sort of a low to mid complexity, so they're ideal and accessible for new players or players with less experience playing the game. And casual doesn't mean that the deck has to be weak or bad, so we're still aiming to have like a fairly sort of like decent play experience. Anyway, let's take a look at the deck list. So we've got 23 creatures, 7 instants, 3 sorceries, 3 artifacts, 24 land, and we've got a mana curve off to the side there. I will stick a link to the deck below. It's on TappedOut. I'll stick a link in the description below so you can access it there and take a look at it. And also there'll be a link there to order it off your preferred online seller. So, first, how are we winning? So this is our win condition for the deck, and unsurprisingly, it's Bid Red Dragons. So we have 2 Thunderbreak Regents, 2 in double red for a 4/4 with flying. Whenever a dragon you control becomes the target of a spell or ability an opponent controls, Thunderbreak Regent deals 3 damage to that player. So, yep, we really don't want people to be targeting our dragons with any kind of removal in this, and yeah, they'll probably be reluctant to do it if they're going to take 3 damage back. So Thunderbreak Regent, I think, is a good start to the deck. Also, it's just nice that it's just a 4/4 fly for 4 mana. I think it's just really nice, reliable turn 4 play. We've got 3 Glory Bringers, 3 in double red for a 4/4 with flying and haste. The haste is really nice, means it can swing at the turn we play it. Also has this ability where you can exert it as it attacks. When you do, it does 4 damage to target non-dragon creature an opponent controls. This is, it's really, really nice. It can come down, swing straight away. You can exert it, which basically means like super tap it. It won't untap during your next untap step. Unfortunately, we don't have a way to kind of untap it with like a spell or ability to sort of like get around that drawback. So that's a bit of a shame. But I think it's worth it though, because being able to like just shoot something for 4 damage is really good. That could get a potential like blocker out of the way, or just some other problematic creature. So yeah, I think Glorybringer is a really nice addition to the deck. We've also got 3 Tyrant of Kerr Ridges, 4 in double red for a 4/5 with flying. When it ends the battlefield, it does 4 damage to any target, so that can be a player, a creature, a planeswalker, anything. So again, another sort of like decent bit of removal tacked onto like a big body here. And it also has a fire breathing ability. You can pay 1 red to give it +1/+0 to end a turn, so it can really just like muscle through and do a ton of damage after it's done its enter the battlefield effect. And we also have 3 red dragons, and this is kind of like just more of the same. 4 in double red for a 4/4 flyer. When it ends the battlefield, it does 4 damage to each opponent. So in a way, you could also see this as having haste in a way, because it's, coming in, it's all doing 4 damage in one way or another. And like, depending at one point in the game, this might essentially be like a finisher. It might just come in and just do 4 damage out of nowhere. So yeah, that's the main dragons. That's the main win condition, just big flying dudes. So what helps us win? So we need ways to power out these dragons because they're super expensive. So we've got 3 Dragon Lord Servant, 1 in red for a 1/3 Goblin Shaman. Makes your dragon spells 1 less to cast, so this affects not only the big creatures, the big dragons, but also like these smaller ones here, these smaller support ones. So yeah, Dragon Lord Servant I think is a really nice addition here, and just means we can play the dragons a lot easier. We got 3 Patron of the Arts, so 2 in red for a 3/1. This is really, really nice, I think. So when it enters the battlefield or dies, you create a treasure token, which you can sacrifice to get 1 mana of any color, obviously like usually red. So this is really nice. The fact it happens when it enters the battlefield or dies, it's going to make 2 treasure tokens. It's got low toughness, so it's going to like die pretty easy, but also it's like fairly aggressive and in that it's got 3 power. So yeah, you could play like really recklessly with this, get to die, make more treasure, and then use that treasure to power out the bigger dragons. And we also got 3 Reckless Barbarian, 1 in a red for a 2/2, and you can sacrifice it to add 2 red mana. So this is really nice. Also another little way to like get some mana that you need to drop one of the bigger dragons a little earlier than expected. So yeah, I really like all these little support creatures here. We also have a young red dragon, so 3 in red for a 3/2 with flying that can't block, which is like a little bit of a downside, but it's still like another flying creature. It has a attached adventure to it, which is really, really nice. So you can either play it for 4 mana. If you're unfamiliar with adventures, what it is, you can either play the young red dragon for 4 mana straight away, or you can play its adventure side, which is Bathing Gold, which is 1 in red for an instant that makes a treasure token. The young red dragon then goes into exile, and then you can cast it from exile as if it was a creature as normal. So yeah, this is really nice. The fact that it's going to give us a treasure token early on, and then we can play it later as just as another flyer. And then to help give us like a bit more fuel, we got Seize the Spoils, 2 in a red, additional cost to cast it, you have to discard a card, so maybe like a mountain or something that you don't need. You draw 2 cards and you create a treasure token. So it's not really card draw because you're having to give up 2 cards like this and the one you discard to just draw 2 more, so you're not really getting card advantage. It's more like just filtering out stuff that you don't need, but it's still giving you a treasure token, which is really nice, and again just helps out those dragons. And then finally, we've got 3 Carnelian Orb of Dragonkind, 2 in a red for a mana rock. Comes in, doesn't do anything when it comes in, but it comes in, stays there. You can tap to give you red mana, and if that mana is spent on a dragon creature spell, it also gains haste until end turn. So that can be really, really nice on the red dragon or the Tyrant of Kerr Ridges. They come in, they do their ETB effect, and then they can also then swing. So that could suddenly just be a ton of damage just out of nowhere, I think, really quickly. And it's just important, I think, just to have a mana rock in here when we're dealing with big, expensive dragons. So what stops our opponent winning? What are our ways of disrupting their plans? So we're playing red, so obviously it's a bunch of burn damage. So we've got 3 breath weapons, 2 in a red, instant speed, does 2 damage to each non-dragon creature. So our little dragon speaker goblin, he survives that, fortunately, which is good. So this is just a nice sweeper spell to deal with, like maybe a bunch of tokens, like soldier tokens or saplings or something. Yeah, which is just, I think, a nice one-sided sweep, so that's pretty cool, I think. And then we've got 4 Abrades, so 1 red, and it's got 2 options. You can either have it deal 3 damage to a creature, or you can destroy an artifact. So it's, it's really important we have some way of dealing with artifacts, because we're playing in mono red. We don't have any way of dealing with enchantments, but we can have a way of dealing with artifacts, and Abrade is a nice multi-purpose spell. So now we've looked at all the cards, we also have to assess like what might stop us winning, like what are our weak spots in the deck. What are some flaws like an opponent could sort of exploit? Well, as mentioned, we as in mono red, we have no way of dealing with enchantments. We are also playing big expensive dragons, so we do have a slightly greedy mana curve, so it might be difficult to hit some of those expensive dragons, even with like treasure, even with mana rocks. It might be difficult to get up to to 6 land or 6 mana to be able to play the bigger, stronger dragons. But I think it should be okay. But it could still happen, Another thing is we don't have any buff spells, so like basically the power and toughness on the dragons is what we've got, and like although they're big flying creatures, like they're not that big really, in the grand scale of things. They're all pretty much capped to like power 4. We've got the Tyrant of Kerr Ridges, who has got like a fire breathing ability. But all the others, we've got no other like buff spells or anything, so no instant speed combat tricks, which is like a little bit of a shame. But like I'm not gonna lie, it was kind of hard to find space for them. So yeah, we haven't got the usual kind of like dragon pump tribal effects that you might expect to see. And on that subject of like them not being big but like not super big in the grand scale of things, it does mean we've got no way of kind of dealing with really big creatures that are too big to either burn out with red spells or deal with in combat with our dragons. So we are really relying on just maybe flying over, like powering out the dragons as quickly as possible with like treasure and like the mana rocks and like the mana ramp from like Reckless Barbarian, and kind of winning that way. And also with the ETB effects from like Red Dragon and Tyrant of Kerr Ridges. Before we get trampled over by potentially much bigger creatures, like ones with either naturally high power and toughness, or that have like counters on them, or auras or equipment or something. So yeah, just bear that in mind. So I'd love to know what you think of the Sarkhan special, Mono Red Dragons. If you have any thoughts or comments about the deck, stick it below. Like if you've got anything that you would change to it, like let me know, like what you'd replace in there. Is it a deck you think you would enjoy playing, or do you have a friend or family member who you want to introduce to Magic the Gathering who you think would enjoy this deck? Stick a comment below. I'll give that a read. Always like doing that. But I hope you join me next time for another Get Decked episode where I talk about another deck I've built. But until then, thanks for watching and listening, and have a great day.